Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted online for Team Florida members. Attendees, please use the Q&A feature located in the Zoom control panel to post questions to the panelists throughout the webinar. Finally, Team Florida will be issuing continuing education credit for Team Florida members who registered and attend today's webinar. We are also proud to now offer the AICP continuing education credit for Team Florida members. At the end of the webinar, if you're online and Brady receives a code, you will receive an email from Brady so that you can get your credits. So now I'm going to turn this floor over to John and Kelly, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Barbara, and good afternoon, good morning to everyone, and welcome to Team Florida 2020 webinar series. We're very proud to have been asked to present to you today our latest technology innovation from Transcore for a national interoperable tag that is branded NP2. Transcore is a proud supporter of Team Florida, and we look forward to the interaction. Certainly, if there's any questions, as Barbara indicated, please put them on your Q&A. And I won't get to them real time, but we'll pause a couple times throughout the webinar to hopefully answer as completely as we can any of the questions you may have. And if you stump us, we promise to get back to you with a written email with the answer to your question. Transcore's new NP2 family of tags is a Triprotocol tag that we think provides to the industry a choice for hardware interoperability at a nationwide level. We've built this platform to include choices that are specific to agencies and the needs of the drivers. The tag platform is highly configurable for all vehicle classes and uses. It has enhanced accuracy and security built into the tag. We like to think of it as a future-proof tag, given the technology that's embedded. And one of the unique features is this tag platform can be delivered, enabled with Bluetooth low energy interface capabilities. As we go through this, I'm going to take the easy part up front, and Kelly will dive into the details from a technical perspective of all of these attributes of this new class of tags. The NP2 tag supports multiple protocol interoperability. It has embedded within it the three major protocols that are seen across the nation: the IAG EasyPass protocol, SIGO protocol, and 6C protocol. Like I said, the tag platform comes at your choice with an embedded Bluetooth low energy interface, which we feel expands the use of that tag in harnessing the power of a smartphone. It's got a rich set of features that include occupancy confirmation, and it gives you the ability to set bit confirmation within the tag for any case where you may want to declare within the transaction message string a unique event. Say that on Tuesdays you're allowed to enter a high security facility, but to do that your security bit needs to be set in the tag. The Bluetooth interface allows you to toggle these bits and have them recorded as part of the standard transaction string. This tag family is compatible with all existing toll systems. We have embedded the latest version of 6C version 3.1 as the newest approved and emerging protocol for 6C. We have the ability to target market these tags to only your user base, which requires or wants interoperability. This prevents the necessity to do a huge infrastructure rollout with new riggers. It allows you to solve that interoperability for the small percentage of your motoring population that truly wants that. And one of the most important things, this now allows true national interoperability with a single tag in your windshield. No longer do you need to place tags of multiple technologies, multiple protocols in the windshield to drive across the nation. We believe that the MP2 tag gives you the quickest and most economic path to true national interoperability. It is possible with this tag to reduce your operating costs, reduce your hub transfer fee costs, and it requires no infrastructure changes at your lane level. You don't have to pick your most heavily traveled lanes and put a different protocol reader in those lanes. You don't have to roll these out, reader roll out to your entire infrastructure. You obtain this national interoperability simply by using this Triprotocol tag. So currently, you have access to about 95% of the active toll lanes in North America with this suite of protocols. There's some agencies that are in the middle of upgrading their 6C version to the latest approved version. And once that happens, you will have access to all of those 6C locations that are not interoperable today. All of these protocols are rigorously tested and have gone through a regulatory approval if there is one warranted for the different protocols. And these tags communicate in a secure transaction and protocol method. So not only do you get the ability to solve an interoperable question with only a tag, you get that tag ability to transact with secure protocols. It's important to note that each of the tags that Transport produces is fully tested. We have a fully equipped high-tech test facility. Nothing that mimics SunTrack system in Florida, but nonetheless, we're proud of it, and it's been in operation since 2002. Since that time, we've logged almost 100,000 man-hours of testing on the track and have logged nearly 4 million vehicle passes. So we have a firm mind that simple lab testing any of the protocols, any of the tags that are used in revenue collection is not a sufficient test to protect the agency's value. We have a suite of tags, a family of tags, if you will, that are approved for use today and commercially available. And they come in different flavors and a little different mix and feel with a little bit different functionality. First and foremost, we begin with the newest tag being delivered to CFX. We go into our RV, pass, battery, and vehicle power tags. And we also have an integrated toll module that is available on the full suite of Audi vehicles starting next model year, and will soon be expanded into other high-end platforms. And this integrated toll module is located within the rear view. We also offer as a full suite of multi-protocol readers, both read-write and read-only. And one of the important takeaways here is that all of the readers, almost 4,000 of them in the installed base, have been fielded with proven authentication capabilities, an authentication schema that operates without any performance degradation. With that, I'm going to ask Kelly to take over. And Kelly, take yourself off on mute and simply let me know when you'd like the slides to pass to the next.
Thanks, John. I had to hit the unmute button, something that we all are learning to do, I think. slowly. John, thanks for that introduction. That was great. So yeah, my role within TransScore is probably one of the best jobs I think you can imagine within a company like that. Is I get to try and look at what the trends are, what technologies are being developed, and how we can apply them together, either in, looking at the trend in one technology or in multiple technologies, and making them work together to deliver ongoing value for customers. And I think the ongoing part is very important. It tends to be a fairly conservative industry. Adoption of technology is done very carefully because a lot of revenue is at stake and a lot of services that the public count on are at stake. And so when we historically and consistent with, I think, our philosophy is that we really tried in this looking at what next generation technology should look like. We always try and think about how to do the transition. How does the transition happen in a way to deliver greater value, greater capability, but not be disruptive to or minimize to customer operations when they want to adopt it. So part of the philosophy as we looked at the technology going forward, we're seeing tremendous advancements, obviously, in wireless communication technology, the advent of the cell phone several decades ago. Some of us were actually there, and in terms of, I'm talking about in terms of seniority now, not necessarily anything else, but I thought the coolest thing in the world was when I got a car phone, an analog car phone installed in my car. Like I died and gone to heaven for an engineer to be able to see that kind of technology come to fruition. And that technology has had an incredible lifespan. And when you look at its, not only its history, but where it's going, it seemed that if we could find a way to leverage that technology, knowing that it's only going to get more powerful and more potent and deliver new applications that just weren't possible before this. That would seem to us to be the trend to ride. And so we looked at how we could do that in a way that minimized the impact on our customers, and so came up with the idea of BLE-enabled tags. And what makes this possible is, not only the development of the phone, but the fact that BLE itself, the technology, the chips that are available at cost, low current capability, all of these things sort of have come together in a nirvana in the last couple of years here, where this type of technology is possible that wasn't possible before. So our NP2 products, our next generation BLE tags, and where NP2 is kind of our flagship product for this, really represent that nexus. And what we're trying to do is figure out how do we take the existing installed base of technology that's used for toll collection and other many other applications, access control, parking, border crossings, but they're all somewhat similar to at the front end in terms of how the technology can unlock potential. So with the NP2, with BLE, we have a tremendous capability to really take advantage of cell technology as it evolves. BLE is the primary protocol that's used for communication between low power devices and a cell phone. As such, it's a major protocol. It's not something that people don't know about. It is the technology that is going to continue to be adopted. Bluetooth, in fact, if anything, may fall behind. BLE and Bluetooth are not really the same thing. They share a name, but in terms of capability, in terms of technical direction, they're really different. So we see BLE being a way to give connectivity into an ongoing, growing, more powerful cell network. And that's what it's all about. So by combining these technologies, not only can we take our multi-protocol tag technology, incorporate into tag, but by adding Bluetooth, we think we're extending the power of that tremendously. Not only to the phone itself, but obviously then the phone on a growing bandwidth basis can communicate with the outside world, with the cloud, and you can start to see that an incredible amount of power becomes available by doing this. And this is with the triple protocol tag technology, or the multi-protocol tag technology. You can do all this in a way that's almost seamless for the customers. Customers, if they want to, can adopt the NP2 and BLE functionality that we can, with BLE, we can future-proof that for almost any kind of application that involves the roadside to vehicle communication. That backwards compatibility we think is extremely important because it allows agencies to upgrade infrastructure at their own pace. There's no forced march. The idea of having the triple protocol capability gives the customers the option to do upgrades as they make sense and not necessarily driven by artificial outside forces. Next slide, please. So this slide here gives you the idea of what the next generation tags are capable of, and with a little more specificity. The ability, obviously, to have a tag that'll work in the existing systems really is what provides you that transition phase that can be done over, like the adoption of new sticker tag technology in the past 15 years or so was able to be done by the advent of multi-protocol readers. We were able to move that technology into the market with a minimum amount of disruption to the customers. We similarly, by having BLE capable tags, we can move to third-party payment approaches by taking advantage of the connectivity to the roadside. What we're seeing in terms of both 4G and 5G and improved latency and capability, but we can do that in a way that's perfectly backwards compatible with and all of the things that give you the ability to do announcements, provide some user interface capability, uplink data to change configurations, all the processing power and localization capability that are available in the phone and network, really give us an advanced delivery capability for the technology and applications. So let's talk about a little bit about nothing, no presentation would be complete without a little bit of commercial. So we want to talk a little bit about SIGO protocol and the MP2 tags themselves and why we think there's some key features in that combination that we think are important for customers to know about. And they all impact all of these applications, all of these concepts, all of this ability to leverage technology for future applications. They don't really mean much if you don't get performance. You still got to maintain that performance level. You have to make sure that we're delivering on the basic functionality, continue to deliver that, not only at least as reliably as we have historically, but even more reliably. And so that is also factored into the product design strategies that we've been following within Transport. So our NP2 tags, for example, one of the things that we've seen is that there's a growing environment where you can have different types of interference. And so we've looked at and thought of over the years, how do we improve the capability to future-proof systems against what's coming? We built protocol features, design features, and RF filtering capability that are intended to improve performance and future-proof it for the long term. So one of the issues that we see whenever we install systems that are trying to push a lot of performance out of them, whether they be multi-protocol readers or single protocol readers, we're trying to improve the performance. We're getting to ORT. We're getting to more and more of that, of course, with the advent of COVID, where we want to go to completely cashless. It's becoming an extremely important part of the system. And so as we want to push our performance, we know that as you push performance, try and push it to the maximum, and you operate a lot of readers in close proximity to a toll plaza, the best way to do that is to minimize multiplexing. Multiplexing of readers causes performance loss. So the idea, a lot of people talk about a time slice, where you have protocol A, protocol B, protocol C, and you assign certain time slices to each one of those. We try and avoid time slices to the extent possible. It's not always possible. Sometimes it's something you have to use. But the best performance is when you don't have to do that. And so we built features in that allow for the minimizing the amount of multiplexing. When you do minimize multiplexing, though, you have to deal with self-jamming, the type of interference that occurs from one reader to another when they're operating close together. And there are specific features we built into the SIGO protocol and NP2 particularly to really deal with the types of things that we see in the field. Self-jamming, we see that pretty regularly when you operate readers close together and you want to get the max performance. You see both what's called first order and second order. Second order is sometimes referred to as intermodulation interference. The first order is the type of interference where you just have a signal with two signals that come in. One's the signal you're trying to read, the other signal is the one that's interfering, and that's the first order interference. But there's the second order interference can be insidious and hard to see. But that's the result of what's called, sometimes musicians call it a beat note. Musicians know that if you play one note and then another note, you actually get a third note or a fourth note, because those two mix together and cause other products. And in an RF system, that effect can cause significant interference. And so that first, we have built into these for future-proofing purposes and getting performance up, these filters and design features that mitigate both first order and second order interference. We also know that third-party UHF signals can jam for basically similar reasons and also cause first order and second interference at the tag receiver. Traditionally, this hasn't been something that we've really looked at in the industry very much. Over the 25 years I've been involved, we've seen this a few times on specific systems. Sometimes military systems would cause this. For example, we had some installations where, Navy ships would come in and forget to turn off their radars. They came into port, which they're supposed to do, and that would cause havoc in systems. But UHF band is being repurposed to 5G capability. So we're concerned that third-party UHF, where we see more and more UHF usage, that this will, and we have on projects actually recently seen this in specific locations. So it is something that we're concerned about, and therefore trying to future-proof the systems to be able to deal with that. So the NP2 tags do have both specific baseband and RF filters to mitigate these sources of interference. Now, I'm not trying to be alarmist about this. We're taking a very considered approach, but we know that, the fact of the matter is when you get tags out there and distributed in the hundreds of thousands or millions, they're there. and it's hard to deal with them if you haven't thought ahead. So what we're trying to do here is think ahead and make sure that we've got the features that'll protect our customers and your customers to the greatest extent possible. We also have designed, in addition to filtering in the MP2s, we've really designed them specifically to have a special capability where we can synchronize the readers to the bit level. And this mitigates another type of interference, which is symbol on symbol interference. So in other words, basically, if you have two readers trying to talk to a tag, if they're sending the messages they want to send to them out of sync, you can get a very high signal interference effectively on the symbol on symbol. And by being able to synchronize the bit level, this is something that can mitigate that kind of interference. And just the multi-protocol nature of the NP2 provides mitigation options. I mean, if you have a particular type of interference or issues that are being caused at a particular site, with the multi-protocol, you could conceivably say, okay, I'm seeing interference in the 6C protocol, or I'm seeing interference in SIGO, or I'm seeing interference in IAG, but maybe I'm seeing the interference in SIGO, but I'm not seeing it in IAG. So you could set up your system there to be an IAG protocol. So it gives you some options and some flexibility. You're just not stuck with what you get. You have some tools to actually, and resilient tools to give you some options, because not all the protocols behave in the face of different types of interference the same way, and we can take advantage of that. So, and particularly as we're looking at 5G and the UHF and what the deployment is looking like there, we are seeing, like I said, we have some new projects, seen some sites where 5G is causing issues. We've been studying that, and we're following that very carefully. Next slide.
Well, I'm going to pause right here to answer a question live from Tom Huckey. Tom, I hope all is well. Tom asked, who's the manufacturer of the Unitag? I'm assuming that you mean the ITM was with that. And what protocols does it have? So Tom, if I've misinterpreted your question, I'll answer it as fully as I can. The MB2 family of tags are manufactured by us. The ITM, the integrated toll module, is manufactured by Gentex and supplied directly to the auto manufacturers. The ITM includes all 6 protocols that we know about, Title 21, ASTM, SIGO, IAG, 6C, and ATA. And we all know that Title 21 is about to be rotated out in favor of 6C moving through. Tom, I hope that answers your question. And if not, just feel free to type again. And anyone else that has questions, please put those in either the questions or the chat box, and we will answer them as they come. Kelly, give you a breath. You're back.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so another feature that we have within the NP2 is the capability is a strong encryption-based authentication system. And this is something that is well proven. It is a feature that exists in all the E6s that we have across the country. About 90% of those E6s actually have the encryption-based authentication turned on, so they're actively used. But 100%, every single SIGO tag that's ever been shipped has this authentication capability. So there is no SIGO protocol tag, including NP2, that where readers cannot authenticate them with an encryption-based authentication system. So what do we mean by encryption-based authentication? Encryption-based authentication means we're using a strong encryption algorithm. And basically, it's there's a lot of complexity with how the circuit actually runs. But basically, the bottom line is the reader can challenge the tag by sending basically a random number. And the tag has to then go get its key that it stores within the tag securely. It runs that random number through an encryption engine, and it has to come up with the right result. Now, if it doesn't come up with the right result, we know that's a counterfeit tag or an inauthentic tag. And so really, encryption-based authentication prevents, tag counterfeiting. And the way we've approached it is it's really has no performance impact. The reason why it has no performance impact is that the EBA command that we use is simply a special type of read command. So you're reading the tag at the same time as you're authenticating it. So there was no performance impact by doing that authentication. And that's why we talk about, we have the EBA really gives zero additional overhead. So what does the EBA buy you? Well, EBA in some ways is insurance. I mean, whether or not you've had issues with authentication, we know that, a $3 microcontroller, $3 microcontrollers when they first, when I was in school, I remember the very first computer kit I got, I was just over the moon because it had, 64K of memory. But what we're talking about here is you can buy a microcontroller for about $3 that can easily emulate a tag or any of the tags that are out there. So having the EBA, we think, is important. We think it's important insurance against the threat of counterfeiting of tags. And as we look at interoperability going across the country, you're going to see more exposure of all of the protocols to hackers. I mean, you take someone who's working in Infineon, who's a microcontroller manufacturer in Texas. Well, when they realize that IAG tags can be used in Texas, will some lonely engineer spend a couple of nights with his Infineon micro development kit and emulate TDM tags? It's not hard to do. And so we think having this capability built into the industry just provides that extra insurance, that extra protection that will protect the industry from a long-term threat of counterfeit tags being built. And so right now, like I said earlier, the E6 readers that we have out there all have this capability. About 90% are actively using them. So you've got a very large installed base of readers that are actually using the authentication, and 100% of the SIGO tags again. So this really provides broadband capability. Now, SIGO is also a mature and stable tolling protocol in and of itself. As I pointed out, there are a number of features that, sometimes I think there's a tendency to think that, all these protocols are created equal, and they're not equal. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but we certainly focused in designing the protocol on a transportation environment. While technologies move all over the place, we think that there are some subtle features here that I've mentioned that are important to consider. And they've been proven, because it's a mature stable protocol, they've been proven. There's over 35 million tags in use today. Far more than that, of course, have been shipped. So we think that's important. And of course, again, it's got to be increased reliability, better base operating feature, notwithstanding all these other things we're adding. And we think, in terms of looking at our metrics in manufacturing and delivery, that we have the capability to deliver this additional capability and maintain these first-rate metrics going forward. Next slide.
Not so fast, Kelly. Michael Kolb would like to know, with EBA reads, one can expect the same number of handshakes as without EBA reads. True or false?
Yeah, the answer is yes, you should. Same number of handshakes are expected. And as I said, the reason is that the EBA, so Way the EBA works is you read the tag first, regular tag read. No change from operation whether you use EBA or not. There you read the tag. Then there's basically an instantaneous key lookup and to the tag that allows you to initiate the authentication, the encryption-based authentication. But that's just like a special read command. The only difference between that encryption-based authentication command and read command is that it's got the random number. So that random number then is almost instantaneously, because it's hardware in an ASIC. So within less than a microsecond, you will encrypt that random number, and it goes back in the response, that special read response, and that read counts as a handshake. So there's no real impact in terms of handshakes with the encryption-based authentication.
So, and Tom, just to clarify the answer to you, the CFX MP2 tag has the 3 major protocols without the Bluetooth functionality.
So, I hate to talk about endless possibilities, but I like the idea that, the industry will have a lot of options going forward. Of course, these are not the only ones, but these are the types of things that we really think have some potential. Certainly the interoperability we think is important. One of the things I really didn't talk about in terms of performance is, with Triprotocol tags, you don't have to really do anything special to your readers in order to improve get all of the benefits that we talked about here. But you can target use the multi-protocol tags to target the users who are really using interoperability heavily. I think, in all the tag surveys we've ever done, we note that while interoperability is important for certain groups like truckers, it's still a very low number of actual interoperable users. In other words, if you do the surveys and look, you'll see that, usually it's pretty rare, other than a few exceptions. I-95 may be an exception, but by and large in the industry, you'll see situations where it's less than 2% or 1% of tags come from outside of the region, and so being able to offer a tag that has interoperable capability without infrastructure upgrades, I think is very powerful, and again, gives customers the option to move forward at their own pace. We think there's a number, though, of applications that can also drive the technology into broader acceptance and usage. One is the ability to do automatic HOV and HOT declaration. We know that there's a lot of growth and interest in express lanes. Having some additional tools to be able to make it easy for users to use hot lanes, but also not make it easy for them to cheat is important. The ability to bring your own account, do third-party processing. We can foresee a future where you have your Visa, your MasterCard, and you just make your payment without necessarily even half a toll account. We're looking at what we can do in combination with image processing and all that. We think there's a lot of potential in using these types of special features, security features, and monitoring features for corporate travel. Being able to, of course, prevent fraud if anyone is tempted by counterfeiting of tags, additional features for account management, and even going to the extent of dual factor authentication for different types of authentication where perhaps you don't have an E6 or there isn't some of the infrastructure supported for tag authentication, dual-factor authentication could be an option. So these are just some of the things we see. We're working with our customers to try and understand what the low-hanging fruit is. And we're very excited that there's many projects that look like they have tremendous payback for the industry. And if only we can get rid of this COVID-19 stuff, if anyone has something that they can provide on that, we'll get this all going a lot quicker. So with that, I think we concluded our presentation here. John, I don't know if you have any additional comments before we turn to the floor for questions.
I have no additional comments, but we do have one additional question from Triprotocol. And what is the guaranteed battery life of the non-BLE MP2? And what would it be for the BLE version? So Michael, I'm going to give you the non-technical answer. The non-BLE version is at least 10 years. And the BLE version depends on the level of activity within that BLE cycle. So we will be publishing a full set of spec sheets here in the immediate future, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your question before we put that to writing and publish those results. But Kelly, that wraps what we have for the presentation. Glad to take any live conversation or questions. And if not, so you can type them in and we'll try to answer those. And Barbara, I will release control back to you.